Stalin jumped up and shouted, "Panickers and cowards must be exterminated on the spot. From now on, the iron law for every commander, Red Army soldier, political worker should be the requirement, not a step back without an order from the High Command." July 28, 1942, a date that became a turning point in the history of the Great Patriotic War. On this day was issued the famous Order No. 227, known under the slogan, "Not a step back." Although the order was communicated to all Red Army soldiers, its content remained classified for a long time for the general public. The first official publication saw the light of day only in 1958, and even then with significant censorship edits. The history of the creation of this historical document is interesting. Initially, the draft order was prepared by the Chief of the General Staff, General Vasilevsky. However, by his own admission, there was almost nothing left of the original version. Stalin personally undertook to revise the text, turning a dry official document into an emotional message that could touch the soul of every soldier. The appearance of Order No. 227 was dictated by the critical situation at the front. The USSR, which had managed to withstand the terrible blow of the Nazis in 1941 and even throw the enemy away from Moscow in the summer of 1942, was again on the verge of disaster. The troops were again retreating far to the east, and urgent measures were required to turn the situation around. Despite the heroic defense of Moscow, the situation at the fronts remained critical. The enemy was still dangerously close to the capital, only 150 kilometers away. Leningrad was suffocating in the grip of a cruel blockade, and in the south, after a long and stubborn resistance, fell Sevastopol. The loss of Voroshilovgrad region meant the complete occupation of the territory of the Ukrainian SSR. Having broken through the front line, Hitler's troops seized Rostov-on-Don, Kuban and North Caucasus, rapidly advancing to the Volga. If the defeats of 1941 could still be explained by the factor of surprise, then in the second year of the war, such an excuse no longer worked. "What do we lack?" asked Stalin in the introductory part of the order, and he himself answered, "It is not a lack of airplanes, tanks, artillery or mortars. The main problem lay in the lack of order and discipline. We must establish in our army the strictest order and iron discipline if we want to save the situation and defend the motherland," emphasized the leader. Stalin pointed out that it was the lack of discipline that allowed a small group of panickers to determine the outcome of battles, dragging other fighters behind them into a disorderly retreat and opening the front to the enemy. Stalin made a harsh conclusion. "Panickers and cowards must be exterminated on the spot. From now on, the iron law for every commander, Red Army political worker should be a requirement, not a step back without an order from the High Command." Suddenly, the leader drew attention to the experience of the enemy. After the winter retreat under the onslaught of the Red Army, when discipline in the German troops shaken, they took a number of harsh measures which, according to Stalin, led to not bad results. He described the practice of forming punishment companies from soldiers who had broken discipline because of cowardice or unsteadiness. These units were sent to the most dangerous parts of the front with the order to atone for their guilt with blood. Similar penalty battalions were created for guilty commanders who were stripped of their orders and also sent to the front lines. Stalin bitterly noted the paradox. It turns out that the German troops have good discipline, although they do not have a lofty goal of defending their homeland, and there is only a robbery goal to conquer another country. And our troops, which have a lofty goal of protecting their defeated homeland, do not have such discipline and are defeated because of this. Stalin for the first time publicly recognized the superiority of the enemy over the Red Army. However, this superiority did not concern technical equipment, weapons or ammunition, but discipline, supported by the most rigid methods. Answering the eternal question, who is to blame, the leader unequivocally pointed to cowards, panickers, and lack of discipline. He saw the solution to the problem in harsh measures. The military councils of the fronts were ordered to ruthlessly suppress even talk about the possibility of further retreat. In addition, it was ordered to form penalty battalions for commanders and penalty companies for ordinary soldiers. Special attention was paid to the creation of barrier detachments subordinated to the military councils of armies through their special departments. These detachments were to be led by the most combat-experienced special special officers. This harsh order was only the beginning. Soon followed additional orders concerning individual branches of the army. Thus, on August 10, 1942, an order was issued for tankers, and on September 9th for pilots. According to these documents, those who evaded combat or tried to be cunning, hiding behind technical faults, were to be sent to penalty battalions and companies. Friends, this is how the video turned out, and what you think about it. Write in the comments.